can you tell us why you're here today?
Sure, so I'm an organizer with Restore the Fourth, and we're a grassroots group, nonpartisan, that opposes the NSA's unconstitutional surveillance. And so today is 8/4, 1984 day, and we're going to march against the NSA surveillance as well as Stop and Frisk and the NYPD's discriminatory surveillance of Muslims.
I'm here because any infringement upon constitutional rights is sort of egregious, and when it goes completely unchecked, that's even more egregious.
Well, I'm a former United States Marine. I was a rifle instructor in Vietnam in 1961. I'm disabled. I got bilateral hearing loss. I love the country, I love the people, but the government is criminal.
Like many Americans, I'm really concerned with the destruction of our privacy rights and our liberties. And you know, we want to be safe, okay, but I think Benjamin Franklin was right. It's the quote popularly attributed to him that any society that will trade away a little bit of liberty in exchange for a little bit of security deserves neither and will lose both. And I feel like we are losing both.
It gives me hope when people are coming out, they're exposing the obvious, bringing attention to people, making it okay to tell the truth.
I'm here to oppose the NSA's mass surveillance of virtually everyone. I think it's against the spirit and the letter of the Constitution, and I think we should end it.
I'm here because I supported Obama in the first election, and I feel like on every level he's been a huge disappointment. I believe the hype that he was a lawyer who understood the Constitution and he was going to follow constitutional law, and on every level. I mean, the environment, on the spying, on the whistleblowing, on transparency, he's been nothing but a letdown, a huge letdown. So I couldn't be silent. I couldn't anymore.
What's the most important thing about the NSA revelations that people should know about?
Well, one of the reasons that we had 1984 Day is so many people are focused on how are these policies being used right now. And that's really important, but it's also equally important, or maybe more important, to look at what systems are we building, what are these systems capable of, and where can these take us if we don't stop them now before it's too late.
People dismiss metadata as just data about data, but metadata can be used to figure out people's associations, and to me this is very much a freedom of speech issue, a First Amendment issue. You have freedom of association that is impinged when people are worried that they can't associate because their associations are known by the federal government and the NSA.
Well, what was just released was X-Keyscore and Pinwhale, which are programs that allow any analyst to basically search and access anyone's information. It was referenced in Snowden's initial interview in Hong Kong, and so yeah, that's very frightening. With so little oversight and no warrants, it's extremely dangerous.
They're essentially taking every bit of information that has ever been logged on the internet, word for word, and storing it in their databases. So any email communication you've had, any text messages, anything like that, is just in a database somewhere and can be pulled up at any time.
A lot of people would say, well, I mean, I haven't done anything wrong, so I don't need to worry about that. But that's fine as long as the state decides you haven't done anything wrong. But when you haven't done anything wrong and for whatever reason they decide to persecute you, you're toast. You have absolutely no right. If this doesn't count anymore, right? If the right to be secure in our persons and our papers, our houses does not apply, then this is not the United States of America.
I mean, they're going to say that they're not spying, but they're going to keep spying even when they tell you they're not going to spy, because we're living in a fascist country. This is fascism, fast forward. You have no rights. Your Bill of Rights and your Constitution is not worth the paper it's written on. I mean, let's stop kidding ourselves.
What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see a radical reduction in the amount of surveillance done on virtually everyone, and I would like to see people who lied in front of Congress brought in front of Congress for perjury, including Director of the National Intelligence James Clapper, who just in March said that we weren't collecting data on millions and millions of Americans, and it turns out that in fact they are collecting data on millions and millions of Americans.
I would like to see just more transparency for organizations like the NSA, people reading books like 1984 and just having a discussion.
Well, specifically, we're asking for a reform of Section 215 of the Patriot Act and 702 of the FISA Amendments Act. We want an investigation and accountability for any officials who misled either Congress or the American people.
I would like to see reform, and I would like to see just overall change. I would like to see more oversight. I would like to see warrants, and I would like to see some of these programs absolutely gone.
I'd like to see the Fourth restored. Fourth Amendment, and there's a whole Constitution that's sort of being trampled on.
Just institutional reform, really. You know, obviously that's a lofty thing to shoot for with, you know, a bunch of people hanging out in the park. But you know, if things like this move towards sort of a nationwide consciousness and then a global consciousness, and it becomes a thing like, oh hey, maybe this is a problem, you know what I mean? Then that's kind of way, you know, the wheels start to turn.
What steps are you taking in your own life to try to work towards that goal?
I'm calling Congress, I'm writing Congress. I'm here today at Bryant Park trying to get the word out to get people to call their representatives and to do the same. I also recommend people check out the EFF, which is the Electronic Frontier Foundation that's doing a lot of work legally to end this surveillance or otherwise curtail it.
I tend to use search engines like DuckDuckGo. I no longer use Google. I prefer open source software.
I could have hung out at home today and, you know, watched TV and ate a sandwich and sat on my ass all day long, but, you know, I'm here, just like strength in numbers kind of idea, you know what I mean?
I've been on the road to hang out with the Bradley Manning folks and support him in his struggle for transparency of our government. And you know, what steps have I, you know, personally made? I guess just being active, really. And maybe that's the one thing that's easy that everyone can do.
To defund this NSA spying thing. So a lot of us are very concerned about it. It's a very close vote. And I hope that I wish we'd have won the vote, but I hope the closeness of the vote signals to people in charge that Americans do believe in their security.
Seeing wall-to-wall coverage periodically throughout the trial where people were really talking about it. We should have been giving it the treatment of Snowden fleeing China in some way. But